Hearing number 8218, which was previously called pursuant to Section 26.100.030 of the Revised Code of the City of St. Louis, was continued from August 13, 2019 to today's date. The board has under consideration whether to revoke the conditional use permit numbered as 120299 issued for 1015 North Grand Avenue, issued to Al-Shami El-Rayami Grand Market, also known as Grand Stop, CO Ibrahim Al-Batten, to occupy 1015 North Grand as a mini market with deli and cooking, no liquor, subject to certain conditions. The conditional use permit is numbered as 120299. At the hearing on this matter on August 13, 2019, the board received the testimony of the Health Department and the Zoning Office. The board also entered as evidence 8 exhibits, which were described for the record at the hearing. Through the testimony received at the hearing, the board was advised of the following. 1. The Health Department conducted an inspection of the premise on August 9, 2019 by the supervisor of the Food and Beverage Inspections. The report presented noted non-critical items, and the permittee was not cited or required to have additional non-routine inspections. Item 2. The Zoning Office conducted an inspection on August 13, 2019 by the Zoning Inspector, Myra Turner. The inspection was conducted under the conditional use permit numbered as 125776 and was an investigation of condition number 6, temporary signage, permit required, and condition number 7, permanent signage, permit required. The zoning inspector testified that there were previous conditional use permits issued to this address, including permit numbers 120299 and 125546. The zoning inspector advised that only active conditional use permit for this address is permit number 125776. Item 3. The store manager of 1015 North Grand Avenue, Jalai Swain, Mr. Swain testified that he saw the posted notices for the hearing. Mr. Swain was concerned that the posted notices included the wrong permit number and the wrong store number. Mr. Swain advised that he had received a conditional use permit that allowed the sale of cigars, and this was not a violation for him. Mr. Swain advised that he had paid for signed permits for the premise after a previous hearing and believed that he was compliant. The board continued the hearing to this date and requested a report from the City Councilor's office with respect to the issues raised during the hearing. At this time, I am requesting that Deborah Duster of the City Councilor's office please come to the podium and advise the board of her report.
If I may be allowed to advise. Mr. President, you charged me with going ahead and looking into this matter a little bit further. We had some confusion, I think, from the last hearing as to permit numbers, names of the market, and things of that nature. I had a meeting in the zoning office with both the zoning administrator, Mary Hart, and with the zoning inspector, Myra Turner, and we reviewed this particular file for 1015 North Grand. What we found was that the original permit issued to the address was the 120299 from 2014, and at that time the business was named the Grand Market. In fact, there was a subsequent permit issued number 125546, and again this was to Grand Market under a different name, the care of Ibrahim Al-Battah. Again, these were for mini market with deli uses and no liquor. But 125546 was largely a duplicate of 120299. In the meantime, the market or the location, I apologize, changed hands and became the Grand Stop. The applicant for Grand Stop was actually Hussam al-Rayami, and the co-lessee is Imam al-Shami. There was a subsequent meeting with zoning and a member of the city councilor's office to review and discuss the permits. Obviously, it's been the position of this board that one location should have one conditional use permit, and it should have been transferred since these were like uses or continuing the same uses. However, being that the permit 125776 was just issued in 2018, and it clarified one of the uses that was being sought, and I believe in my research, one of the hearings for this location was over the sale of cigars. 125776 was issued for a specific purpose to allow the sale of cigars, which was one of the citations that had been brought forward. So in our discussion with the zoning administrator and the zoning inspector, 125776 was supposed to be the superseding conditional use permit, and the others were supposed to be taken, if you want to think, be taken out of the system. The zoning administrator had advised there was no way for them to take it out of the system. And so then it's my belief that it would be proper for the board to issue an order that 125776 is the superseding permit, and therefore the other permits will be removed from reference to 1015 North Grand from this point forward. I did meet with the store manager, Mr. Salwan. I think he goes by the name Jay. He had indicated that as to the sign issues, which was, I believe, condition number 6 that was being cited, as to the sign issues, he had been in previously, for one of the previous hearings, had gone to zoning to pull permits. Again, that was a bit of an adventure, tracking down permits and what they applied to. However, Jay had met with Dylan Mosier, who's a plan examiner, who also was able to call Lyle Manager, who is one of the plan examiners. And what they determined was, in fact, the one permit that Jay had brought to our hearing on the 13th that said 3 non-illuminated signs was being misinterpreted by the zoning inspector and the zoning administrator. In all honesty, once the sign permits are issued, that plan, and I have a copy, this type of document is not maintained by the office, and so the zoning inspector didn't have the opportunity to review or have any further information. However, Jay brought this back when he met with Dylan Mosier, and they called Lyle Manager, and Lyle indicated that, in fact, that 3 non-illuminated sign permit did cover the signs that were in part of what Jay was in contention with Jay that he wanted to keep. On the other hand, there's a number of other signs that were in the windows, and so then we offered to the store that they might want to either A, gain a permit, or B, take them down. There were like 3 different signs that said open. That would be 3 different permits. If you don't want to take the permit, then just go ahead and take the sign down. And in my conversation with Jay, and he brought pictures yesterday, in fact, they have taken those miscellaneous signs down. And should the owner seek to put those back up, he will come back to get a permit. Otherwise, they are remaining down at this time. So that is why I am recommending to the board that the proper action would be a board order to declare that the 125776 is the superseding permit. And at that point, after, if that's considered by the board and passed, you would entertain a motion that you would just simply dismiss this hearing without prejudice, and it would close the matter.
Are there any questions from the board for the city councilor? Thank you. We have people present to testify, so I'd like to continue with the hearing. Your testimony today is being recorded. When you come forward, please state your name and address and be sworn in. As you testify, please direct your comments to the board and not to those in the audience. Members of the audience are asked to remain silent and not coach the witnesses. During your testimony, members of the board may have questions for you. At this time, the board asks the Department of Health to come forward and testify if you have anything.
My name is Patrick Nebian, the supervisor for food and beverage.
Proceed.
Yeah, for now, we don't have any citation against them. I did send an inspector out this morning to go and take a look at the facility again, and they looked at the carryout. For now, the carryout is not functional because they don't have, the necessary things for them to operate. So there's no fresh citation about that. The grocery side is okay, even though they have two non-critical violations, which they will need to correct.
Questions for the Department of Health? Thank you very much.
Thanks.
The board asks the conditional use permit holder to please come forward and be sworn in.
My name is Galal Solan, store manager. So, we had a problem about the 3 non-aluminum sign. The city thought they're not permitted, but I went to Mr. Lyle. He called the manager for the zoning, and they instate that these 3 non-aluminum sign application permit cover all these signs, this and this. About these signs, like the open sign and all that, we thought it's okay for them to be at the door, but when we spoke to the zoning, they said they're not allowed to be at the window unless we have a permit for them. So we took them down, and I spoke to the owner, and he said if we need to put them back up, he'll come and get permits before he put them back up.
Questions for our conditional use permit holder? So from the board, we'd just like to say thank you for working through this issue with us. Obviously, things happen, and we appreciate your patience, so thank you very much.
I would like to make a comment, kind of echo the president. We've seen you a few times, and just in my personal opinion, I think you've really done your homework. You've come prepared with information. You've had the facts. You've been very respectful and professional, and each time you've come with all the facts that you feel you have, and I think it's been very helpful to us, and I wanted to commend you on that. Instead of just saying, I don't know, or you came unprepared, you were always prepared, and I think I can speak for myself that I appreciated that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Other questions or comments from the board? Thank you. If there's anyone else who wishes to testify in support of this revocation, please come forward and be sworn in. Seeing none. If there's anyone in opposition to this revocation who wishes to testify, please come forward and be sworn in. Seeing none. The matter concerning hearing number 8218 is now closed and submitted. The board will proceed with its regular agenda. Following the conclusion of the regular agenda, the board will deliberate, discuss, and vote on the hearing. The board will notify the conditional use permit holder of its decision by mail in about 2 weeks. Can you call the roll, please?
Director Scobie.
Here.
Director Wilson.
Here.
Director Hayes.
Here.
Director Augustin.
Here.
Director Eccles.
Here.
Director Edwards is excused, and President Bradley.
Here we have a quorum. I'll call this meeting to order.
Addendum number 1 to the plans and specifications for letting number 8701, MEP improvements to 12th and Park and Wold Recreation Centers. Project number 2080-3070, St. Louis, Missouri. Missouri Highway and Transportation Commission Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Agreement between the City of St. Louis, Missouri and Missouri Highway and Transportation Commission for its communication system installation, maintenance, and information sharing agreement. St. Louis Lambert International Airport, St. Louis, Missouri. Federal project number CMAC 9901644. Equipment Services Division contract for diagnosis, reflashing, repair, replacement, and service of large and small construction equipment. Recommends approval. Emergency work orders issued for the month of July 2019 by the Department of the President and Facilities Management Division, Board of Public Service for emergency work and repairs requiring prompt attention. Recommends approval. Recommendation that 6 festival zones be approved subject to certain conditions as follows. Conscious Fest at Sarah between Page and Dr. Martin Luther King, Evans between Vandervender and Whittier, September 7, 2019. Beers Dash 5K at Kaufman and Poker Parks in Downtown Street, September 12, 2019. Taste of St. Louis at Chestnut between 13th and Tucker, 13th between Pine and Market, South Curve Lane of Pine between 13th and Tucker, Chestnut between 14th and 15th, Market between 14th and Tucker, Chestnut between 13th and 14th, September 13th through the 15th, 2019. Hop in the City at Locust between 21st and 22nd, September 13th through 15th, 2019. Event is on September 14th, 2019. September 13th through 15th, 2019. All of God Movie Night at Gano between Carter and West Florissant, September 14, 2019. Riley Irish Breakfast and Music Fundraiser at Arkansas between Arsenal and Alley, north of Hartford, September 28, 2019. From the President and Directors of Public Utilities and Streets, joint recommendation that the following permits for Chippewa Park Partners, LP, be approved subject to certain conditions. To encroach with handicap entrance ramp at 3032 Chippewa Street, and to encroach with handicap entrance ramp at 3100 Chippewa. From the from the President and Director of Streets, joint recommendation that permit for Greg Ryback, care of Bojero Holdings, LLC, to encroach 5.25 feet into the 18.34-foot wide alley with a handicap access ramp into the building at 1463 South 18th Street. Also encroach with planter and decorated bollard in the alley and with steps and railings on 18th Street. Be approved subject to certain conditions. From the Directors of Public Utilities and Streets, joint recommendation that permits for MCI access be approved subject to certain conditions as follows. Starting at existing handhold located in the intersection of North Tucker and Chestnut, near 100 North Tucker, bore and place conduit for new fiber 122 feet east from manhole 1 to manhole 2, ending at the entrance to alley along Chestnut. And starting at existing handhold located in the intersection of North 17th Street and Chestnut near 110 North 17th. Bore and place conduit for new fiber 30 feet southeast from manhole 1 to MCI manhole 2. Joint recommendation that the following permits for Amarin, Missouri be approved subject to certain conditions as follows. To install 4-inch conduit across alley and will be pulling primary cable in the customer installed conduit across alley at 4120 Detoni. Back alley closure will be minimum approximately 2 hours, and alley exists to the north and south. And to install 45 feet 3-pole in concrete sidewalk and repair concrete at 5012 Dagger RES Backbone 1. This is a total conduit subdivision. Here, builder installs conduit system, including conduit transformer pads, pedestals and vaults per the drawings to set, etc. From the Director of Parks, Recreation, and Forestry, recommendation that permit for Michael Rosenthal area imagery to fly a drone on the north of on Lindell, west on Skinker, and east 400 yards west of Kings Highway, and south and west on Kings Highway, and south 200 yards north of I-64. Recommends denial by reason of the fact that the Park Department requires specific times and dates and cannot be open-ended. Also, a certificate of insurance is required.
Hearing number 8218 for 1015 North Grand is a mini market deli cooking and no liquor. We heard an explanation from the city councilor on her report concerning the various conditional use permit numbers that have been issued to this business and the confusion that was associated with the violation and the revocation hearing. We heard from the Department of Health that there were no pending issues. We heard from our conditional use permit holder that everything has been resolved with regards to the signage with the building division and the zoning section. So at this time, the first order of business I would ask the board to consider is not revoking this permit, and I will open the floor for discussion.
I make a motion, unless there's some questions, I make a motion to not revoke with special thanks to the city councilor for her excellent work.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, can you call the roll, please?
Director Scobie.
Aye.
Director Wilson.
Aye.
Director Hayes.
Aye.
Director Augustin.
Aye.
Director Eccles.
Aye.
Director Edwards is excused, and President Bradley.
Aye, not revoked. Our second order of business concerning the hearing 8218. In consideration of all the testimony before the board, I would like to entertain a motion that the board issue a written order that I will read into the record. The Board of Public Service, having conducted hearing number 8218 concerning the conditional use of the property located at 1015 North Grand Avenue, hereby finds that only one conditional use permit issued at this time is numbered 125776 in the name of the Grand Stop CO Hassoun Al-Rami Aman Al-Ashami, 1015 North Grand Avenue. It is ordered that the conditional use permit numbered as 125776 supersede permits numbered as 120299 and 125546, and those permit numbers shall be removed from the reference for 1015 North Grand Avenue. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded for approval of the board order. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, can you call the roll, please?
Director Scobie.
Aye.
Director Wilson.
Aye.
Director Hayes.
Aye.
Director Augustin.
Aye.
Director Eccles.
Aye.
Director Edwards is excused, and President Bradley.
Aye, the board order is approved. I'd like to turn your attention to our meeting minutes from last Tuesday, August 20th, 2019. Are there any questions or comments on the meeting minutes as presented?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Can you call the roll, please?
Director Scobie.
Aye.
Director Wilson.
Aye.
Director Hayes.
Aye.
Director Augustin.
Aye.
Director Eccles.
Aye.
Director Edwards is excused, and President Bradley.
Aye, the minutes are approved. Today's agenda. Questions or comments on today's agenda? Seeing none, I'll take a motion, please.
I move to approve today's agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded for approval of today's agenda. Can you call the roll, please?
Director Scobie.
Aye.
Director Wilson.
Aye.
Director Hayes.
Aye.
Director Augustin.
Aye.
Director Eccles.
Aye.
Director Edwards is excused, and President Bradley.
Aye, today's agenda is approved. Motion for adjournment, please.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you. Thank you all.